Hello, everyone. This is your host, Dr. Tomi Mitchell from the Mental Health and Wellness Show. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Nooshin Darvish. She is a board licensed naturopathic physician, regenerative medicine specialist, and founder of Holistic Medical Center in Bellevue, Washington. With over 25 years of clinical practice, she integrates Western science with Eastern healing traditions to address the root causes of chronic illness, aging, and complex diseases. As a fellow in integrative cancer therapies and a diploma in anti-aging medicine, Dr. Darvish offers innovative treatments such as bioidentical hormones, ozone therapy, and platelet-rich plasma injections. She is a Lyme literate physician providing effective, non-antibiotic therapies for chronic infections. In addition to her clinical practice, Dr. Darvish is the author of The Golden Gate: Unleash Your Feminine Powers to Graceful Aging, a book that explores the path to healing, self-care, and emotional wellness. She also recently delivered a TEDx talk titled Unleashing Joy: Secrets to Graceful Aging, where she shares powerful insights on finding joy and embracing the aging process with grace. With no further ado, Dr. Darvish, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mitchell. It's great to be here and share some of our wisdom with each other and with the world out there. So thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. I always like to start off with giving my guest, you, a chance to share with our listeners a little bit about yourself. Often the bios are great, they're wonderful, but we can't always capture the essence of you. So do you mind sharing with our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am a physician at heart and a mother and a wife, of course. But I'm very joyful. And my nickname in high school was called Smiley because I was always smiling and creating joy. And that's really been my mission in this world, is to help spread the joy, to elevate people to a higher state of being, and not just feeling, but being. And so I think we can do that with relationships, with communication, with just being who we are. And that's my essence, is to be of service and joy to others.
I love that. Joy is so powerful. Joy is so much more, to me, so much deeper than just happiness. Joy is like, it's happiness, but on steroids. It's like 2.0. It's great. It's enthusiasm for life despite challenges, right? Because
Yeah, absolutely.
one can be joyful even when the world is crumbling. And that to me is powerful. It's
It,
where you don't allow your world to control you, right?
exactly.
Right?
Exactly. It's a state. It's
Yes.
the deepest, most profound state we humans can experience. And the beauty of it is that it not only gives us purpose, and when we're joyful, we create our purpose more deeply, but we become a source of well-being and health, not only to ourselves, but others. And there's so much research out there that I share actually on the TEDx talks, some in my book, about how being joyful promotes our longevity,
Yes.
increases our cellular health,
Yes.
and affects our hormones, reduces the cortisol and the stress hormones, and activates those regenerative processes within the cells to help us live longer, but not just longer, healthier, thriving with health and well-being. So joy is really powerful. You're absolutely right. And we can be joyful in a state of chaos.
100%. Before we hit record on this podcast, we were talking about how we both share so many interests in our professional life, and one of them is like health and beauty and this graceful aging piece. And I believe we're of the opinion that true beauty, true grace starts from the inside and radiates out. And I think that's where joy is too. Like you could have two identical people look the same physically, but one is smiling, one has joy, have a smile that reaches their eye. There's this energy that's grace, and the other person doesn't have those things. It's fair to say people will rate one person as being more beautiful or gracefully aging compared to the other. And in our world where we have a lot of filters and, you know, obsession with the exterior, which is, don't get me wrong, I like to look after my exterior. I think we have missed the role of true beauty, and that's from that inward out joy and embracing this concept of graceful aging. So, speaking of that, you wrote the book, The Golden Gate. Um,
Yeah, the Golden
do
Gate.
yeah, do you mind sharing with our listeners about your book and what inspired you to write it?
You know, this is a book that I started writing about 12 years ago
Okay.
when my mother was diagnosed with cancer, stage two different types of cancers, um, very aggressive uterine and ovarian cancer. And it was a time where I went, into shock, and I had to pull myself out of that process. She was given only about a few months to live with or without chemotherapy. And so she chose the route to do not the conventional therapies and to do more of the holistic realm and to dig into herself, to recognize that joy within her and do whatever it took to activate her immune system to do the work to help her fight this cancer. And she was successful for 10 years.
Wow.
And and she not only lived, but she thrived for 10 years. She was traveling, working, visiting, having coffee with her friends, and being with her children and grandchildren for those 10 years. And then, unfortunately, during COVID, my father passed away, and she lost her joy at that point. And then she regained it just before she passed away. And it was
Wow.
this thought that came to me over and over again after she passed away, that her words kept telling me, "Hosh bosh, hosh bosh." Hosh in Farsi, in Persian, my mother tongue, means joy, and bosh means be. She kept telling me all throughout my childhood and teenage years, "Hosh bosh." Whenever
Mm.
hardships happen, she said, "Hosh bosh, be joyful." And what she really meant was, don't let the fetters of this earthly life weigh you down and age you.
Mm.
These moments of crises and chaos that we go through individually, as families, as society, and as the world, as we're experiencing, are fleeting moments. And if we can dig into that joyful state within us, it will create so much health and well-being. And that's what she did. She created health and well-being for 10 years for herself when she was only told 6 months, maybe a year.
Wow.
And
That's
so,
amazing.
yeah, and so this was really the reason why I started to finish my book. I started 12 years ago, and then I dropped it just because of life, and kids and so forth. And then when she passed away, I got a call from a publisher and an editor, and they said, "Do you have a project for us? We work on health and well-being books." And I thought, maybe it's a sign.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a sign for me to write this book. And so that's when I went back and started finishing the book, editing it, updating it, and adding to it, and ultimately it became the Golden Gate. Now, the name Golden Gate really refers to us women,
Mm.
and that we are the gateway to everything in this world, including peace, future generations. We've been the gateway to every human in this world,
Yes, I
right?
legit. Yeah.
We are it. Without us, the world
Mm-mm.
wouldn't be here. Humanity
Nope.
wouldn't be here, right?
Exactly.
And so, unfortunately, though, for past centuries, we've bought into this um, game of downplaying ourselves as women. And now the time has come for us to recognize the powerful, vital role and station we play in humanity, in the progression of civilization. And
100%.
pardon?
I said 100%.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And so we are the golden gates. And that's what my mother taught me. We are the golden gates. We can't allow anything to combat that. And as we become and recognize that golden gate within us, that joy gets unleashed.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
beautiful.
powerful, graceful aging gets unleashed. And
Yes,
so it's not about playing games, and it's not about creating just a facade that we're, as I think as women we do that a lot, but it's really about looking at ourselves, really being truthful with our internal selves, and recognizing that we need to be, to take account of ourselves every day. We need to bring ourselves account every day. And what I mean by that is, at the end of the day, when you're ready to go to sleep, doing a checklist and saying, hey, how did I do on this, and this, and this? And it's not being critical of ourselves. It's not meant to take on account of ourselves from a negative perspective, but from a truthful and positive perspective. And how can I move forward better tomorrow? And being grateful for what we were able to accomplish today. And so really looking inside of ourselves and looking at the depth of our being as woman, our role, and understanding and recognizing that the feminine powers that we have, the intuition, the gentleness, the compassion, the society building, the community building capacities that we have as women. Look at you and I, right? We are building community as we speak. It's
yes.
these feminine powers that are so much needed in this world in order to build a society that is more peaceful, that is more unified, that our children, our grandchildren can be raised in and grow up in. So
100%.
it's,
Yeah, I really wish more women would embrace them, right? These powers like you mentioned. Now, speaking of that, in your book, you talked about this 6-step process to aging gracefully.
mm-hmm.
Do you mind sharing with our listeners about this?
So I call it the Chosh method. Remember, Chosh means joy.
Mm-hmm.
And we can apply this on a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and social level. And I talk about how important it is to address these 6 steps if we want to be joyful, to maintain and age gracefully, to address all of those aspects of us. And I call those the 5 gems: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and social. And they are all interlinked to each other. They are all in balance, and they must be maintained in balance. We can't just focus on mental health without addressing the physical health. We can't
Yes.
focus on emotional without addressing the mental or the social. They all need to be addressed and worked on a daily basis by us as individuals and as a society as well. But as it starts with the individual, right? So the 6 steps, the first one is, well, I'll just run through them. They're called reduce to calm, replenish to nourish, release to relieve, restore to heal, regenerate to create, and relate to elevate. And it is a process. In other words, becoming joyful, maintaining our joy in order to age gracefully is a process of addressing each one of these steps. And I won't go into each one of them in depth just because it's all written out in the book. But the first step is to reduce to calm, which means eliminate exposure, whether it's toxic exposure from metals or chemicals or, backbiting, socially, eliminating exposures with people who may feel toxic to us, and all that. You have to look at it again at all those levels. And then we need to replenish. So we've reduced the exposure, but now we need to fill that cup and fill it up with nourishment so that we have the capacity to detox, to let go. And letting go is a huge, huge component of being aging gracefully and being joyful. Because as women, we tend to hold on to a lot of toxins, right?
Yes.
Not only physical toxins, but ancestral and social. And it's like, what happened 5 years ago? We're still holding on to that. And you look at men are really great at just letting go and moving on.
Mhm.
But women, we tend to hold on to those baggages and it makes us sick. And so,
Yeah.
if we can get to a point where we not only recognize and become aware of these toxins that we are carrying, but we learn how to let them go, to relieve and release them, then we are going to be in a better place to restore our healing. And that's
Mhm.
the fourth step, is restore to heal. And so when you let go of those toxins, and this is, I think, one of the issues that I personally have with modern counseling and therapy sessions, is we work a lot on past trauma,
Yes, we
but we
don't move
forget.
forward. It's focused on the past.
Yes, and but we forget to replace that empty cup now with positive memories and positive emotions and
Yes,
positive thoughts.
that
And
is true.
so when we leave that cup kind of empty, the we've kind of, addressed the trauma, but we haven't refilled it. That trauma kind of crawls back in again, and we are facing it again. You wouldn't believe how many patients I have that come in, and I tell them there's still an issue with your mother or grandmother or what have you, and they look at me and they say, I've spent 20 years in therapy talking about my mother or grandmother. Why is it still coming up? It's because
Hmm.
they never refill their cup with the positive emotions,
Yeah.
positive thoughts. And I'm a total advocate about how our thoughts are our reality. When we think positive
Yes.
thoughts, we're going to
Mhm.
create a positive reality. We're like a magnet. We attract the positivity, the magnetism that we need to attract to continue to fill that cup.
Very true.
And then the fifth step is regenerate to create. And that is when, from a regenerative medical perspective, we're using peptides and stem cells and ozone and oxygen and food and IV therapies and all of these great forward thinking natural therapies that
Yes.
activate our cellular system to regenerate. And there's a lot of biohackers out there that are focusing on this. But beyond that, it's thinking about how to create. So a lot of
Mm.
times I have patients that get to this level of regenerating and they recognize that, oh, I am now able to, I feel so good. I can now go and create a new relationship or open a new business or um, create a new community. And they're creating constantly because they're in this level of regeneration and rejuvenation. And then finally, you feel great, you've created, you continue to create, but in order to get the fuel going, to maintain your joy through all of this creativity, is to elevate yourself. And the way we
Mhm.
elevate is by giving to others in the form of
Yes.
service. Because
100%.
I think of it as, the more you give away,
It's like
the more you feel
replenishing.
that it comes
Yeah.
back to you tenfold, right?
100%. Yeah.
So those are the six steps that I go in a little bit more in depth. But you can take these steps and apply them to business. You can take
Yeah.
the 6 steps, apply them to mental health. You can take the 6 steps and apply them to physical health. It really
Yes.
doesn't matter. But if we are systematic about following these 6 steps, it's a lot easier to create and maintain our joy.
Yes, and speaking of applying that, I want to apply it because one of the topics that I often talk about in my TEDx talk was on redefining burnout and seeing how these steps, your principles that you speak about in your book, can help somebody A, prevent burnout
Yep,
potentially, or B, if you're in burnout, get out of it as fast as possible and heal. I would love to hear
exactly.
your thoughts on how these principles help because many of us, especially those in health care because obviously that is our field. That's what we know best. We're physicians, we're healers. But we're often the last to take care of ourselves. Often, well, we have terrible rates for, let's say, physician suicide, health outcomes for us, and it's unfortunate because we have access to so much knowledge. What would you say to our fellow healers and also those who aren't? Like this podcast is for non-physicians too, but this season is definitely physician and healthcare focused in regards to these principles and burnout.
Well, the first step is to reduce to calm our
Mhm.
nervous system, right?
Yes.
And right now, there's so much chaos in the world that our nervous system has gone into this fight and flight response.
Yeah.
And as long as we stay in that fight and flight response, our adrenal glands, which are really the reservoir for fighting and fleeing, it's burning out, it's emptying out. And so, if we can recognize that we are in a fight and flight response, number one. Number two, understand that we have the capacity to calm down that nervous system, that autonomic nervous system. So it could be simply with rituals of, for instance, in my practice, what I often do is after every patient, I wash my hands, not
Mm.
just because it's, to
How we're
stay
trained.
clean,
Tension,
right?
tension
But
control.
it's actually a ritual for me to wash away what I just picked up from that patient. And
That's
that
so
helps my
true.
nervous system stay calm by just touching water. Water is very calming and healing.
Mm.
The other thing I do is when I leave, I usually wear a white jacket. And so when I leave for the day, I take that white jacket off as a conscious ritual that tells me I am leaving behind whatever I picked up today.
Yes.
It doesn't belong to me. I'm here to help people on their journey to be a companion, but I'm not here to do the work for them. I think that's
Beautiful.
a really important
That's
recognition.
powerful.
I
Yeah.
think in Western medicine, we tend to think that we are the ones that are going to fix somebody, and so we're going to give you a
Mm.
prescription to heal. And it's that mindset to me is very draining
Mm.
because we are just a tool. We're a hollow reed that allows the healing energy to work through us to that patient with that prescription. And so if we recognize that we're just a hollow reed, we are a companion, and we're just here to be of service and not to take on people's stuff and leave it behind, that helps. The other thing that I do for myself on a regular basis is I meditate and I reflect. And I meditate in the morning before I go to work, and I meditate in the evening before I sleep. And that helps calm down my nervous system. It
Mm.
helps me to take a deep breath and let go. And that simple breathing exercise, breathing down to the abdomen and activating that diaphragmatic breathing, helps calm that vagus nerve and calms that parasympathetic nervous system and activates it. And then things like chanting or humming or
Yes.
playing with the back of your ears or your earlobes also activates that nervous system to calm down. So reducing to calm not only means avoiding the exposure as you leaving that behind, but it also means to reducing your nervous system, the fight and flight response.
Mm.
And I can, I can go on with all those other 5 steps, but I don't want to take over the whole podcast here and let you ask questions.
No, that's good. Sometimes I want to just listen so our listeners can hear from you because they hear from me lots. So no, that's very good. And I really like the ritual with washing hands, like connecting that washing hands. Like we all wash, well, we're supposed to. I definitely wash my hands a lot in my practice as being a symbolic sign to washing away and not carrying that on because you can, and then the white coat as in, okay, you're leaving it and you're going on to your next role, which is, wife, mother, individual. You know what I mean? Like if,
Yes.
if you don't learn to leave it and move on, it's very easy to let work and all the stuff that comes with it inflict torture on other places in your life. So those
Yeah.
boundaries, that's really important. I definitely appreciate that symbolism. And we all
And,
can,
I think, like, for me, connection with God, or
yes.
people want to call it,
Hmm.
the universal power. People have
Hmm.
different ways of communicating and talking with, or acknowledging that power. And for me, it's very, very important to maintain that connection
Hmm.
and recognize that we are, at the end of the day, powerless, and
Yeah,
the Almighty is the most powerful. And so
100%.
when we think of ourselves as just one of the children of God,
Yes.
and and that we are going to do our best, but at the end of the day, the end result is not up to me or you or
Mm.
anybody else. It's up to the will of God, whatever God's will is for that
Yes.
person, right? And sometimes that person's healing may be more on a spiritual, emotional level, and sometimes it's on the physical level. And
Yeah.
we can only help that, or and be an accompaniment to that patient in their process of becoming more aware, becoming. I talk in the book a lot about being a conscious being,
Mm.
and how important it is to walk this earth as a conscious being, because when we do that, we are able to elevate to heights, to levels where the material world no longer really consumes us. And
Yeah.
that it's that material world that consumes us when we're in that lower level, that burns us out. In the
Yeah.
higher states of being, of joy, enlightenment, elation, there's no guilt, there's no shame, there's no fear, there is no burnout.
Yes.
Really, people. I see a lot of people during the day. I see a lot of patients, and I see very chronically ill patients, a lot of patients with cancer, with
Hmm.
very complex illnesses. And people ask me, how come you're not tired by the end of the day?
Well, because that joy.
It's the joy,
It's
it's
the
because
joy.
it's the joy. I'm not being burnt out by the material, the physical, um, the lower level
Emotions.
frequency of
Yeah.
toxins.
Yeah.
I'm recognizing, it's almost like, looking at this patient from a bird's eye view.
Mm.
And I'm a player, and the patient is a player, and their family and their relationships, everyone, their work is all a player. And
Mm.
so I'm watching this show from up above, and I'm seeing, oh, I can move over here and help this patient, and I can give them this and help this patient, and this patient may be able to do this to help themselves, and so forth. And so I don't get consumed as being the player. I'm looking at
Yeah.
it from a bird's eye view. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
That makes perfect sense. That makes
So
perfect
it
sense. But
doesn't burn me
you
out.
no,
It
you
doesn't.
need to maintain that objectivity.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really important. And we don't we're an instrument of vessel, but ultimately, for those of us that believe in a higher level, a higher power of God, God is in control, gets the final say. Like we can do so much. We can bring our knowledge, our resources, our things to the table, and we do your best, hope for the rest, but that's it.
That's right.
Yeah. And that joy,
That's
like
right.
honestly, I like that. It's joy. Joy. And the joy needs to be seen in all your relationships. When I talk about burnout, I talk about three critical relationships, but then there's also a strut that supports them all. So I use a
Mm-hmm.
stool analogy. Stool needs at least three strong legs to support itself. And
Mm-hmm.
when even one of those legs is weak or broken, the stool will fall under the weight. So the three critical relationships is one, and then the struts are another. So the relationship with self, that's dealing with your own past beliefs, your traumas, and making sure you filled it with something positive, right? As
Yeah.
you mentioned. Secondly, significant other or close confidants or husband, spouse, whoever that person, those people are, that's the second pillar that needs to be strong. And then third, work in society. You want to be working in a healthy environment. For me, I realized I need autonomy to truly thrive. I need to
Mhm.
work where I have autonomy so I can decide that I want plants in my office. Oh, I want music playing. I want it to look a certain, have a certain feel to it because all of those things bring me joy. And when I work in a place that's boring and sterile, and not even sterile, just not to those standards, it bothers me. And also a system. You want a system that's responsive to your patient's need. But ultimately, there's a struts that support all of those stools together. This isn't something that I mentioned in my TEDx talk, but I kind of brought it up more after. And the struts that supports all those three legs is your faith. For me, it's God. Belief,
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
Christ. That's my foundation. That's kept me from not completely flattening out when one or more of those relationships, and sometimes all those relationships were in total chaos. It was that belief and hope that I can get through it. You had to make changes, but at the end of the day, you had to keep the joy, right? You had to
You
keep the
have to keep
joy.
the joy.
Have
You
to.
know, one of the quotes that I mentioned in the book, but also in my TEDx talk, is my favorite quote. It's a Baha'i quote.
Hmm.
It says, "Joy gives us wings. In times
Yes.
of joy, our strength is more vital, our intellect
Mm,
keener, and our understanding less clouded. We seem
mm,
better able to cope with the world."
mm.
And so it really, joy gives us wings. It's such a visual concept, that if I am being pulled down by, I mean, we all go through modes of depression or
Of
anxiety or
course.
fear or what have you. I mean, that's being human, right? But the
Mhm.
key is, can we pull ourselves out of that state into the state of joy? And if you remind yourself that joy gives you wings,
Yes.
it's like this magic. It pulls you up into that level of joy again.
Yes.
You
Joy
know,
definitely gives you wings.
yes,
Yeah.
joy definitely gives us wings.
Yes.
So
And yes. And joy helps to smooth over those issues, the challenges that we have. Because some from the outside, we're like, why is she so happy? But they don't recognize that you too have pains, disappointments that are happening, challenges, but you just see them as a stage or just a phase. It's not like it's the end defining moment. It's something that you have to pass through, learn from it, take the good from the pain, and keep on rolling. But that
yes,
joy,
yes.
oh, I can't, in aesthetic medicine, I don't remember who the instructor was that said this to me. I don't know if it was does that what's his name? Something De Mayo, whatever. He works with Allergan MD codes. I don't remember, but somebody told me this with aesthetics. So I do Botox and fillers with my patients. Um, when you look at a person, if when they smile, they don't look any better, you can't help them. Like, it's like,
That's so true. That is so true.
that's not, don't stay in your lane. That is like not for you know, fillers, Botox, PRP, microneedling. That is this,
It's
like
it's so true. One of the I don't know if you ever read the book by Bruce Lipton, but it's called The Honeymoon Effect.
no, I haven't read the book.
And he brings up this idea of noble gas, and I take it to a higher level in
I
my
love it.
book. Have you read that, The
I
Noble
haven't read
Gas?
the book. Yeah, I haven't.
So you'll see in the Noble Gas in my book, I talk about how Bruce Lipton talks about, the periodic table.
Mm,
And on the left side of the periodic table, we have all these elements,
mm-hmm,
like sodium and potassium and chromium and so forth, right? They're all on the
mm-hmm,
left side. They
mm-hmm,
all have either a positive charge to give away or a negative charge, and they
mm-hmm,
want to attract a positive charge,
mm-hmm,
right? And humans are like that
mm-hmm,
generally. We're either like givers, we give away a charge, and
mm-hmm,
or we're takers, we take a charge.
mm-hmm,
So that's how you get sodium chloride, table salt is sodium and chlorine, they exchange charges.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look on the right side of the periodic table, there's the noble gases,
Yep.
like the xenon,
Mm-hmm.
and
Helium.
radon.
Mm-hmm.
And these noble gases don't give a charge and they don't take a charge. They are just being, and they're potent, and they disperse energy, and they create,
Mm-hmm.
and they impact. They have a huge impact on the world around them.
Mm-hmm.
And so our goal as a human being
You like the noble gases?
is to become a noble gas,
Yeah.
right?
Total
And
nerd out. Love it.
it's to become a noble gas. And becoming a noble gas requires us to go through this conscious effort, because this is not going to just come to us. In
Mm-mm.
fact, we're going
Mm-mm.
to be constantly tested to see, are
Mm-hmm.
you a giver, are you a taker, or are you really a
Mm-hmm.
noble gas?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think of this quote, noble have I created thee. God's created us as noble. And are we working on becoming that noble gas that we were meant to be?
Mm-hmm.
And once we become that noble gas, we become more radiant. We
Mm-hmm.
become more resilient.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we become much more humble,
Mm-hmm.
and we're able to access that joy even more, because at that point of becoming a noble gas is when we are creating,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's
Yeah.
that stage 5 of my hushbash or hush method, joy method, is
Mm-hmm.
regenerate to create. We are creating because we are a noble gas at this point.
That is beautiful. I like that. Yeah, there's another colloquial way to express that, but I won't repeat it. It's like you just don't give a, you just like,
Yeah.
okay, sure.
Yeah, it's
I
yes,
like it.
yes.
Yeah, I haven't
But
thought
then we
about the
create,
periodic table in a long time. But yeah.
yes, I know. But when you think of becoming, and it's a process, I say becoming because we're all having to become a noble gas. We have that potential. But when we become a noble gas, we attract other noble gases.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as a community of noble gases, the power that we will have is exponential,
Mm,
right?
that's
When you
beautiful.
when you put two nuclear plants together, they're exponentially powerful,
Oh, yes.
right? So imagine
Yes.
if we as humans are noble gases that come together, not just, the individual is powerful, but when we attract even
Collectively, you're
more noble
stronger.
gases, so
Yeah.
much more powerful in
That's
transforming the
beautiful.
world.
Well, I pray that because of people listening to this podcast, they inspire to become a noble gas and take these truth nuggets, but start off with joy.
Yeah.
Honestly, joy, you can see, honestly, you can see so much in life and still come out unscathed. And in the
Yeah.
trenches, when you're working with your patients, you need to be that joy because they're feeling the hurt, the pain, and you're not living their life, but you definitely can feel for them, but you still need to elevate yourself so that you can help pull them up. Because if you're down there in the trenches, you're just gonna have a pity party. And I'm sure you've seen it. I've seen where two miserable people, whether it could be a physician and their patient, just there wallowing in sorrow. And I'm like, that's not
Yes.
helping. Like for a
Yes.
minute you can connect, but you shouldn't just stay there. You want to
Yeah.
bring them up. You want to lead.
Exactly.
Be a noble gas. Don't
Exactly.
just be full of gas. Be full of
Yes.
gas, man. I
You
like
know,
that.
yes, when I train my resident doctors, I teach them to always work on themselves first.
100%.
Because if you, like, just like you said, if you've got two people kneeling or on the floor, one's your
Mhm.
patient, one's you, how are you going to pick this patient up?
Yes,
You're
that
not
is
going
so
to help them
true.
create healing. You're
Mm-mm.
not going to help them heal. You have to be at least one step sitting, kneeling, some standing, even better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, so that you can hold this patient's hand and help them get up. Exactly
100%.
what you say.
100%.
But
That's a
it
beautiful
means that
thing.
we have to work on ourselves as
100%.
healers, as physicians,
Yes.
as women,
Yes.
as humans. We have to heal ourselves and work on ourselves on a day-to-day basis, and then teach our children to do the same.
100%. I definitely talk to my kids about that too. And that for me, personal development is truly working on oneself. It's not necessarily going for a spa. Like that's not, no, no, no. It's working on yourself, getting to dealing with the itty-gritties, dealing with those areas that kind of feel ick, but you need
Yeah,
to work through them. You
yeah.
need to work through the icks.
It
I love
reminds me
it.
of a quote. Yes, it reminds
Yeah.
me of a quote by um, Shoghi Effendi. He says, "We must be like the fountain or spring that are continually emptying itself of all that is, has, and is continually being refilled from an invisible source." So we must be like a fountain or a spring that's
Mhm.
continually emptying itself and replenishing itself from this invisible source.
Mm.
And
So
sometimes we
true.
just have to recognize that there is that invisible source and that we can empty out all of this baggage to become that noble gas.
Mm.
In order to do that, we also have to access that invisible source.
Love it, love it. Awesome. Speaking of access, how can our listeners get a hold of you if they want to learn from you? Maybe have you at an event and be a keynote. Like, how can they reach you?
The easiest is drdarvish.com,
Okay.
DRDARVISH.com. And then
Nice.
they can get hold of me through my practice as well, holistique. It's the
Hmm.
French um,
Spelling
spelling
of
of
holistic.
holistic.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
should do
so
better pronunciation. I live in Canada and it's bilingual.
I'm
Holistic.
Canadian too, by the way. I'm
Oh,
dual.
wow. Where? Which province? Where you were last living in?
Vancouver,
Oh,
Vancouver, Canada.
Vancouver. Well,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
in
yeah.
Calgary, Alberta.
Oh,
But I'll
great.
be in Vancouver pretty
I'm
soon.
heading over there. I'm heading
Oh,
over there in August for a conference.
girl, we're gonna talk off cameras, but we gotta
Yeah,
connect.
yes.
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah, I grew up in Canada, but right now I'm located in Bellevue, Washington.
Which is basically like Vancouver, because it's just like
Yes.
beeline down.
Yes,
You
yes. I
know?
have a lot of Canadian patients and yes. That's
Awesome.
holistique.com, HOLISTIQUE.com.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. To our listeners, again, thanks for being here. We appreciate you spending your most precious resource with us, and that is your time. I don't take it for granted. Feel free to like, share, comment, share, spread the word. Joy for everyone. Wouldn't it be so great if people were just happy? Like, like
Yes,
less miserable people in
yes,
all fields of life? Like,
yes.
whoa.
We're all
We
noble
will
gases.
peace and will hunger. Would be a great.
Recognize our station as women, the powerful
Yes,
golden gates that we are.
yes. Women, embrace your femininity and the power that you have been given from the divine. Like, stop selling
Yeah,
yourself short.
exactly.
Please.
Exactly.
Okay. Yes, please. Get the book. It's on Amazon. Okay. Anyway, till next time, everyone, this is your host with Dr. Darvish from the Mental Health and Wellness Show. Bye.